Your good buddy Jimbo here with Mike Coughlin of halfguarded.com, the best MMA website ever in the history of anything. And this Saturday we've got probably the biggest MMA show of the entire year, and we're just going to run our predictions down real quick. Tell you what you think's going to happen, who to bet on, and waste your entire life savings on. So Mike, anything you want to say about this show before we get into the main event here?
This show is, like you said before, it's up to this point probably the best show of the year. Probably the biggest show they're going to do this year, unless Connor fights. And it's a hell of a show from top to bottom with three, real title fights, some other damn good fighters. I have a feeling if you compare and contrast this with Mayweather-McGregor, people are going to walk away going, boy, the UFC show is a lot better.
Yeah, and one of the really interesting things about this, for this being probably the most stacked show of the entire year, it seems like it's kind of being under-publicized a little. Like, if you go back to UFC 200, I think that show was way more promoted than this one, or even the Madison Square Garden show. So, what's the UFC doing? Are they just overshadowed completely by the McGregor-Mayweather fight, and they're just not really amping up their game for this one?
I think that's probably 90% of it. There's a little bit of people kind of gun-shy on Jon Jones still, but I think it can pretty much almost all be attributed to the fact that there is this freakish boxing's had super fights before, but this is the first time MMA's ever had one of their own in one of these generational fights. And, everything Mayweather and McGregor do, nothing will matter until that fight happens. So unfortunately for this show, maybe it doesn't get as much attention as usual, but you know what? That could also just be my attention's taken off of it, and people will look at their pay-per-view thingy and go, wow, that's a really darn good show. I'm going to buy that.
Yeah, and just for the viewers out there, we're doing this interview on Monday night, so it's about 6 days ahead of the actual pay-per-view, so we hope nothing bad happens, but we've seen cards fall apart very, very quickly. So if the card changes, blame Trump or something, right?
I would thank Trump, because if the card changes, it must be for the best, because Trump would only do what's best for me.
Personally, I would love to see Jon Jones take on Jimmy Manua for the interim title.
That'd be something. Jon Jones could be the first guy to ever win a championship, never lose it, and then win 2 consecutive interim championships.
History is about to be made. So, yeah, the main event. I've written about this so many times. Obviously, it's going to be the UFC 200 headliner, but some things went awry there. We'll get into in just a minute. But to me, when I look at Daniel Cormier and Jon Jones, number one, forget it. These are the two best fighters on the planet. Both these guys could dominate the heavyweight division if they wanted to. And I think in a lot of ways, it's probably the closest thing we have in MMA to a Muhammad Ali, Joe Frazier type rivalry. So to me, this is about as good as MMA is going to get. And if you go back and you watch the first fight, I watched a couple days ago, so I have it fresh in my mind, and I totally forgot just how one-sided that fight was. So looking at all the variables, Jon Jones has been away from a year, Daniel Cormier had a fight a couple of months ago. What do you expect going into this fight?
I expect Jon Jones to win the fight, and I think it's going to be scary easy. He won that first fight, as you said. The fight, I don't want to say it's totally one-sided, but as it progressed, Jon Jones got better and better, and so he definitely won the fight. And so, to me, that tells me, he just took a little bit of time to figure out Cormier. And since they fought, Jones has had his issues as far as being, suspended, and I don't worry about that, physically taking a toll on him so much as just a little bit of ring rust. And I think with Jones, of all people, he probably really needs to fight regularly to stay sharp. So maybe he'll take a little bit of 5 minutes to gain his bearings. But again, Jones pretty easily beat him in the first fight, and he's still in his athletic prime. He's actually probably closer to his athletic prime. He hasn't taken any punishment. Meanwhile, Cormier's been in some incredible wars that have been really entertaining, but they're career shorteners for normal people, let alone champions who are in their mid, 35, 36, 37 years old, whatever Cormier is. He's only going to go down from what he was before. I just think that Jones routes him. I think he makes it look easy, and we all just realize that's a different breed of fighter.
And are you calling a finish in this one?
No, I won't call a finish because Jones has been more passive in his career lately. And to add that in with the layoff combined, finally rounded out with Cormier, still just being a real tough dude. I think that it goes 5 rounds, but Jones pretty much makes it look easy.
Yeah, I'm really torn on who to pick in this one. I think Jon Jones is probably the overall better fighter, but then again, he had that variable, the ring rust. And Cormier, he's looked really good in his last couple of title defenses. For me, it comes down to whether or not Cormier is going to have a new game plan in this one. Obviously he's going to be able to out-wrestle Jon Jones, and if he does, it'll take him, at least 3 or 4 rounds. So, what do you expect as far as a strategy for Cormier? If he wins this fight, what will he have to do?
I think that he'll have to. Again, it's going to be tough because the way they just match up physically, even Jones is so unfair against most people. I think Cormier, if he wants to win this fight, probably has to fight a Randy Couture style, where maybe use a couple kicks on the outside just to keep Jones honest, but for the most part, cut off the cage, try to trap Jones, bob and weave, get inside with some boxing, and then just make it ugly in the clinch. Just remember to lean on him against the cage, keep it there, make it dirty, make it ugly. That's probably your best chance of winning if you're Cormier, unless something freaky happens and that night you can get your takedowns at will, which has never happened with Jones. Otherwise, in a pure kickboxing match on the outside especially, Jones is just going to pick him apart. So Cormier just has to get in there and make it tough and ugly. And he has to mentally know, I'm going 5 rounds on this thing, because it's pretty much impossible that he finishes Jones.
Yeah, I don't see him finishing Jones either. And I'm still, after all these years, I'm wondering how is the best wrestling we've ever seen against Jon Jones was Alexander Gustafsson of all people.
It just goes to show that MMA is a unique beast. And it's the same reason Jon Jones, who obviously is a JUCO champion but never wrestled anything higher than that, just routinely handles some of the best wrestlers on the planet. Things are weird in MMA.
All right, I got to make my official pick. I'm going to go with Jones by unanimous decision. I know it's a very safe pick, but we're betting the house on this one.
No, just because sometimes a safe pick is also the smart pick. You don't want to overthink it too much.
All right. And our co-main event is our second of 3 championship fights. Tyrone Woodley taking on Demian Maia. And talk about contrast of styles here. Both these guys fight 2 totally divergent techniques here. So when you got Woodley striking, taking on Maia's submission skills and ground game, who do you think has the upper hand?
Well, first I have to say that Tyrone Woodley's trained a lot at the Duke Rufus School in Milwaukee. One of my good friends, Daniel Vanderlei, is the lead jiu-jitsu instructor there. So I always like to get that out of the way early and often. I haven't spoken to him about this fight or anything. The fight is first of all, I think it's going to be boring as hell. I think it's Woodley's only chance to win is to keep it standing and pretty much make it a boxing affair. Maia has got decent enough boxing. I think Woodley's got a little more power, but the problem is even if he knocks Maia down, I think he's gonna be really nervous to ever engage on the ground, as he should be, because Maia has shown just a freakish ability once he gets his hands on people. Maia's gonna try to push that up against the cage, get behind. He usually likes to work on the single leg, drops down maybe to half guard to pop back up, and he'll use that single leg to either turn the corner, run the pipe, and get a single leg takedown, double, or he'll usually switch and slide behind and take the back. I think, though, that Woodley's going to win because he's just a high-level athlete. He's super, strong. His technique is shown to be pretty good, and he's also a very smart fighter. He's willing to be boring if it means he'll win, and I think that's the key to beating somebody like Demian Maia. You can't have that Vanderlei Silva mindset if you want to beat Maia. You have to be willing to say, I will be boring if it means I get the victory. He did it with Stephen Thompson. I think he'll do it with Maia, who just plays it safe, defends like crazy, and gets a very, very lackluster and boring decision victory.
I think this is Demian Maia's fight to lose. I think he can go in there and win that, but he's got to be a little bit more aggressive than he is in his last couple of fights. Woodley, obviously, better standing game, great striker, but I'm really worried about his cardio, and I think if Maia goes in there and he really just grinds this guy down and keeps it a ground-oriented affair, he can get a decision victory in this one.
Oh, he absolutely can, because I think he'll come out very hot in the first round, maybe first 2 rounds. We've seen that before. I've seen Maia kind of fade a little bit, like when he fought Rory McDonald. As the fight went on, he lost more. But yeah, I mean, he could absolutely win a very close decision himself. I think this goes the distance. I don't think there's a ton that happens either way. The closest we'll have to a finish is going to be Maia with a submission, and he might pull it off. He is that darn good. And maybe Woodley gets a little overextended. But I think the odds are that this thing goes 25 and we all walk away kind of regretting watching it.
It really can't be worse than the last Thompson fight. That one took years off my life.
Don't count Woodley out on the boring factor yet. I mean, Thompson at least had some power.
That was like a fight where literally nothing happened for 24 minutes, and then Woodley finally got some offense in, like with 30 seconds to go.
Hey, better late than never.
Yeah, and won him the fight, so I'll give him that. All right, you're going to go the more conservative route and say the defending champ retains by decision. I'm going to go out on a limb here. I'm going to go on a divergent path. I think Maia wins this one. I think he wins it by 4th round submission.
Could happen. I can't. I'm not going to object strenuously to it.
And up next, we've got the featherweight title bout, not a featherweight interim title bout, an actual championship match now. This one, of all the matches on the card, I have no idea what's going to happen in this one. I just can't predict anything. It's just a wild drawing names out of a hat. Cris Cyborg, Tonya Evinger, what do you got?
Cyborg murders her in 5, maybe 10 minutes. This is a rout if there ever was one. Cyborg is a huge woman at even 145 pounds. She's a freak of nature at that weight. I should say a freak of nurture, really, a freak of the laboratory. Edinger is the Invicta 135-pound champion. She's moving up in weight and up in just overall skill. She's fighting. This is Cyborg's MO. She goes out there and fights chicks who kind of have a little bit of a name, but she has just a massive size advantage. Evinger's not even a huge 135-pound champion. So I think Cyborg goes out there and just beats the holy hell out of her. I mean, Evinger's MO is usually, I'm going to be tough, I'm going to fight kind of dirty and ugly, but that's a real tough road to hoe when you're facing, a gassed-up blitzkrieg.
Give the UFC credit because this is like the inverse of Michelle Waterson taking on Paige Van Zandt. This is like a women's penitentiary death fight.
Oh, yeah, for absolute sure. I mean, they always showcasing that the women can be pretty and fluffy and do throws and submissions, and they can also go out there and look like the most vicious, scary human beings on the planet. And Cyborg is Exhibit A on the women can go to war. Yeah, sure, she can go and kill. I believe that. Yeah.
Now, going with Cyborg is such an obvious thing that I'm almost afraid to go with it because freaky things like that always happen on the big marquee cards.
It could, but I mean, it's freaky because it's abnormal. So I'm going to go with the normal usually.
So, I'm wondering, maybe she doesn't make weight or, she gets food poisoning the night before. I'm trying to weigh all my options. But once again, we're trying to be, good advice for bettors out there and people making books. So I'm going to go with Cyborg to win. I'm going to go 2nd round TKO, just playing it safe.
Yeah, I think that's safe. If there's anything hugely different from that, I'm going to be very surprised.
All right, and moving along to the fightiest fight of all time, Robbie Lawler, Donald Cerrone. How can this fight possibly suck?
There's no way it'll suck. It'll be fantastic. It'll be great. We will all be happy and in love with it. These two are they're physically incapable of anything but an awesome fight. So the only way it's not awesome is if it ends like in 5 seconds, and probably because Lawler knocks him out, or maybe Cerrone catches him. So it could always end real quick. There's always that possibility. It could be like when Pettis fought the Cowboy and it was over so quick and decisively that I was kind of let down. But presuming it doesn't end in 30 seconds, this thing's going to be fight of the night, if not one of the top fights of the year.
Yeah, I'm probably more excited about this fight than anything on the card. Look at these two guys, as well-versed as they are, as technical as fighters they may be, they also have a tendency to go in there and just turn into like orangutan knife fights at the drop of a hat. And I don't want to see any skill in this one. I want to see just a barrage of punches. I want this to be like Fry Takayama, 2017. And I don't really think it's going to last that long. I mean, both these guys are going to be throwing bombs like crazy, especially coming off losses. So, if you had to go with somebody, who would you pick as the winner?
It's a tough one. My first thought was Robbie Lawler just because he's a natural welterweight. He's just bigger, and he hits so darn hard. But I'm going to actually go with Cerrone based on the fact that he's just so fresh and rejuvenated at that weight class. And his losses, they're really due to quicker opponents and, more importantly, shots to the body. And I think he's just going to hit some – I don't know, I'm just picturing it in my head. It's probably because I'm a huge Cowboy fan. But I just see him hit like a lead left high kick somewhere in the end of the first round and just crushing Robbie Lawler. I'm just biting on Donald Cerrone on this one.
I can't remember what show it was. The one where Cerrone ended the fight with like literally a Mortal Kombat combo.
He's done that a couple of times. I remember the fight you're talking about too. But that's Dan. That's Cowboy Cerrone. That's what he does.
Well, anyway, I think that's for sure. I think he wins similarly. I've got Cerrone winning by head kick, third round.
Good man.
I try. All right, and now we have a very interesting match. It's going to be our curtain jerker for the pay-per-view. Jimmy Manuwa taking on Volkan O, related to Karen O from that one band you love.
Yeah. Unfortunately, his name is Volkan Ozdemir, or as I like to call him, Voltron. And he's Swiss, which is a heck of a thing to be in this world these days.
I just look at that and I keep thinking out loud, Han Volk. But no, wait, that's the wrong type of promotion here.
Also, that'd be Volkan.
Ah, of course, Volkan. You just go with that. That sounds way more cool.
Yeah, I agree.
All right, so this one is really intriguing because, like I said, if Jon Jones or Daniel Cormier get hurt, God forbid, for the main events, then one of these guys will probably be inserted in the main event. But also, do you think whoever wins this match is automatically sort of penciled in as the number one contender?
No. I think if Jimmy Manuwa wins, he's not even penciled in. He's probably inked in as the number one contender. If Volkan Ozdemir wins, I don't think he's an automatic number one contender. I think that there's enough guys out there. Shogun's got surprisingly, he's got like 4 wins in a row or something like that. And you could always have somebody move up from light heavyweight. Who knows? So I don't think that they're going to say Volkan Ozdemir. We can't wait to have you main event a big pay-per-view for us. We've been wanting to have an Ozdemir on our show. So, but yeah, if Jimmy Manuwa was it, yeah, he's easy to sell, and I think that they're going to get what they want. This is set up for Manuwa to win. They're not. I don't want to say they're not taking any chances. This is going to be all on the feet, and they're banking on Manuwa to just kind of clip Ozdemir, and I'm not going to say he's not going to. He's right up. I'm going back and forth now because Ozdemir is actually ranked number 4 in the UFC, which is disturbing. But he's looked really good when he beat Ovince Pru and Misha Serkinov. This is make or break. I'm going to go with Jimmy Manuwa though, just because he's got that one-punch knockout power.
Yeah, before I make my official pick, I just had like one of those brain-exploding moments where I realized we actually might be a couple months away from Jon Jones fighting Shogun Hua again for the light heavyweight championship in the year 2017.
That's just disturbing for both of them.
How did that happen? Like, where did we go wrong in the timeline?
Jones is so dominant for so long that the world has actually spun around his axis in a complete time. We're replaying the same storylines because nobody can come near Jon Jones.
Hey, that's like in that one movie, Batman.
There you go.
All right, for my picks, I don't know. One of these things, whenever you have guys who are going in for a presumptive number one contender match in a title eliminator, usually, from what I've observed, they tend to be a little bit more conservative and, maybe not go out and be as aggressive as they normally are. So, looking at that, I think it might give Ozdemir a little bit more of leeway than I would give him under other circumstances. That said, I think Jimmy's the better fighter overall. I mean, I haven't really seen anything from Volkan that really impresses me to make me think this guy's going to be a title contender at any point in his life. But I think Jimmy's going to do a very impressive job. I think he wins, but it's going to be by a very sort of boring, predictable, unanimous decision.
Yeah, it works for me.
Yeah, I know. I'm being too conservative here. But
You
that
can only be
works.
you can only be truthful.
Yes. And moving along very, very quickly, you want to go through the FXX events?
Yeah.
All right, so this kind of would be like our pro pick'em here. Thumbs up, thumbs down. Ricardo Lamas taking on Jason Knight. Who you got?
Gun to my head, I'm going with Ricardo Lamas, but Knight's been on a roll. But Lamas is still a better fighter, I think. And Knight cut a really awful promo once begging to be on Joe Rogan's podcast, which was pathetic.
Yeah, he's going to lose just for that. I'm going with Lamas, second round TKO.
Yeah, I'll agree.
All right, we got Alamein Sterling, the Funkmaster, taking on Renan Brow. This is a really good-looking match. Who you got?
I'm going to pick Aljamain Sterling for a couple reasons. One, he's my favorite named human being in the world. When I first saw his name, I just laughed and laughed and laughed at somebody who's named Aljamain. Also, Barao is the one that they California said they wouldn't let him fight at 135, so they're forcing it to be a 140. I think that says a lot about where Barao's at in his career. I think this is Aljamain's biggest signature win as he marches towards a title eliminator fight with Jimmy Rivera.
I like how that 5-pound differential is like the matter of life and death.
Well, you say that now, but a gallon of water weighs 8 pounds. So if you're out in the Sahara Desert, 5 pounds of water would feel pretty darn good.
It will. So yeah, I'm going to go with Aljamain too. I'm going to give it to him by unanimous decision. We get to watch Renan Barao's career come to a startling crashing halt. All right, moving along. Brian Ortega taking on Renato Moicano. What you got?
I'm going to go with Renato Moicano. He's on a roll lately. He hasn't lost in his career. Just beat Jeremy Stevens. Shows pretty good, actually, overall skills. And I think Brian Ortega, he just never makes a mark on my psyche, really, and Moicano does. So I think Moicano's I think he's a little bit hungrier, and so he's going to win.
Yep. See, I really need you to co-host this show with me because I never get the pronunciations correct, and people always call me out on that.
Yeah, I'm very obsessed with pronouncing people's names correctly. It's one of my weird pet peeves in life.
So I usually go the Brazilian guy or, we won't go there. So yeah, this is a really tough one to call, mostly because I'm not really familiar with either of the guys. Like I've maybe called maybe 1 or 2 fights of each guy, so I don't really give them like a holistic overview. But just what I've seen so far, I think I'm gonna go with Ortega here. I'm not really sure how he's gonna win, so I'm just gonna default to unanimous decision.
Yeah, could be. I mean, lighter weight fights like this on undercards, they're usually toss-ups.
Andre Fili taking on Calvin Kattar. And who was the original opponent for Fili? I totally forgot.
Oh,
it was Doohoo Choi.
Oh, that's right. That was going to be great. Instead, we get this.
Yeah, I'm really disappointed about this one. That was actually like a main card match, wasn't it?
I would hope so. I mean, anything Doohoo Choi does nowadays should be main card of everything.
Well, this one, once again, the problem here is I know practically nothing about Calvin Kattar. You got anything on us, any inside information?
Not a thing.
So he's one of those guys where if you go to the UFC website and you're looking at the card, he's just a shadowy enigma.
He's he's the infamous from Parts Unknown and all that.
Mm-hmm. So the fact that he's a shadow person may make him hard to hit. That may give him an advantage.
Could. But Andre Fili is pretty fast, and he's got an in with the Lord, so he has some light on his side.
That, and anybody whose nickname is Touchy, probably don't want to get into a war with him.
Yeah, and you also don't want a guy who has a direct connection with the Lord God himself, and his nickname is Touchy. That's a recipe for disaster.
See, now, I've always wondered, what would happen if Jon Jones fought Yoel Romero? Who would God root for?
Let's see. One of them is against gay Jesus, which God isn't. That's a good thing. The other one is truly making the most of all the gifts God has given him. He's made millions. He parties with underage girls, does coke, and has lots of kids, but isn't ready to get married yet. So that's a tough one. He'd probably go with Jon Jones because he's more likely to win, and God's a front runner.
Yeah, I'd probably have to go with that one too. I want to see Khabib Nurmagomedov go in there and see what happens.
Against Jon Jones?
Well, let's make it a three-way. Let's make it completely crazy. Get all the religions in there.
I guess we got to find a Jew. I'm sure that we can find somebody who's a Jew and then throw him in there and just see what happens. Yeah, let them fight it out, and we can all watch, and the winner gets Israel.
You know what? Mike Goldberg, I think, would be a great replacement for that one.
You said it, not me, you blatant anti-Semitic bastard.
Hey, what can I say? That's what they get for killing Jesus. I mean...
They did. They slaughtered him. Those money-grubbing bastards with their hook noses. They just couldn't wait to get their hands on Jesus.
But how tough does that make them to kill the Son of God? I'm not messing with those people.
That's a good point. That's a little underrated, undersold, if you will. I mean, yeah, they killed the Lord Almighty, his son at least. On the other hand, they killed a god. That's pretty badass. Like in every other culture, like the Romans and the Greeks, they would write, Iliads about you if you killed a god.
Yeah, I mean, they're great people. They're my favorite group from the Middle East.
Yeah, they're pretty good.
Yeah, please hire me after this. I'm sorry. Oh yeah, well Divergent. Yeah, I'm gonna go with Philly to win this one just because I know nothing about Qatar and short notice fight usually go to the guy who actually has a little bit more training.
I'm going to laugh if it turns out that Qatar is Israeli.
Oh, wouldn't that be terrific? I don't know. Well, Bellator does do a lot of shows in Israel. So
yeah, they've done a couple of them there. So I don't know what the hell that's all about. But of all the places to go fight in the world, Israel, not on the top of my list.
Yeah, what do you think they call the card? I think they should go like full WWE and just call it like Hebrewing Up Trouble or something.
Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, as the hack line goes.
Battle for the Dome Rock 2.
Jeez. Yeah, okay. You're never gonna get hired by the New World Order now.
I tried. I really tried. Hey, speaking of things nobody cares about, Fight Pass matches. Very, very quickly. You want to run through those?
Sure.
All right. Kaylin Curran taking on Alexandra Albu from Moldova Republic.
Yeah, I kind of like Curran. I believe she's actually from like Hawaii or something like that. She's kind of got a weird chest tattoo, but yeah, whatever.
Yeah,
no one gives a shit.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I was gonna say. I really don't know anything about either of these two fine, outstanding affirmative action hires, but I don't know. I'm gonna go with Albu just because she's undefeated, and I really don't like Curran's hairdo.
Yeah, fair enough.
And you know what? If it works, it works. Then we've got Jared Brooks, the Monkey God, taking on Eric Showtime Shelton in a what weight class is this? 125. Well, yes, what kind of seems to kind of look like dwarves. Anything about this match that strikes you as noteworthy, or is it just a throwaway?
Just a throwaway.
Yeah, I've got nothing. I really have nothing worthwhile to say about these two guys.
Off with their heads, then.
I will say Eric Shelton does kind of like John Legend a little, so that might help him a little.
Well, I guess, but Jared Brooks looks like Drake.
E-Man.
Yeah, that too.
Yeah. I'm not even going to attempt to come up with a outcome for this match. I think they're just going to have a great time, and they're both winners in my book.
Yeah, it goes to a draw.
And opening up the show, Joshua Burkman taking on Drew Dober.
Yeah, it's only funny that, I guess Dober should be in the UFC still, but not really. And Josh Burkman, I can't believe he is still in the UFC, especially given that he's lost 5 of his last 6. He's got lost 3 of his last 4. I mean, I don't even know how the fuck he's in this company. I think he had a decent run at World Series of Fighting, but not really. I mean, he's been around forever, but he's a good hand, I guess, in the old hardcore Holly sense of it. But looking at all these losses in a row, he'll probably lose this fight. He's dropped down to lightweight in recent time here. So not like I think Drew Dober's anything special, but he's got something going for him, I guess. He's just a little younger. I'll go with youth over experience.
Well, yeah, I mean, you look at the UFC website, I'm just staring at this in awe. I mean, Josh Burkman looks like he's literally 60. I mean,
Oh yeah, he's an old man.
Like he's got like the Moses beard and everything. It's really not flattering.
Well, I'll let him know you said that.
Oh, I mean, I'm sure he's a great guy. It's just you're old. No way around that. It happens to all of us. So yeah, I'm gonna go with Dober just because he's not eligible for the AARP yet.
Always a good reason to bet on somebody.
Yeah. Though it is kind of weird, that there are a lot of really old dudes in MMA who are still performing at a high level. I wonder what makes that exceptional compared to other sports.
I think it's probably just a little bit more opportunities. I think if you probably looked at like the other sports, if you really looked overall, there's a lot of Josh Burkman types who are mid-30s hanging around in baseball, getting spots like a fifth starter or whatever like that. We just kind of MMA, because it only it happens so infrequently, we might just notice a little bit more.
Oh, well, it's MMA and hockey because Jaromir Jagr is like almost 50. He was drafted before I was in kindergarten. He's still playing.
Yeah, I remember I'm old enough to remember when Jagr was like a big deal. I was like, oh, Jaromir Jagr. It's like he's still going at it. It's just crazy.
Yeah, those Europeans, especially those from the Slavic countries, just something about them.
Hey, he's the kind of guy that when some woman tried to blackmail him with a sex tape, he just said, go ahead, I don't care. And that attitude is what carries you to your mid-40s playing hockey at a high level.
I think that's a lesson we could all benefit from.
Yes. Become one of the greatest hockey players of all time and bang your way through Eastern Europe.
This man speaks the truth. That is UFC 214 coming up this Saturday once again. If the card changes, it's not our fault. I think it's going to be a great show. It's certainly the biggest we've had so far this year. And, I don't know, should be a card of the year contender.
Yeah, I think if you buy this show, you will get your money's worth. And I don't say that about every show, but this one seems like pretty close to a lock where you'll walk away at the end of the night, having had a few, and thinking, I don't need to hit my wife this time. I feel good.
That is something we rarely experience in this day and age, and we need to absolutely cherish it.
I know. There's just women falling down the stairs across America. It's an epidemic.
Yep, so we've got women, we've got Jews, we've got most of the Eastern Polish bloc. We've offended everybody today. I think it's a job well done.
I agree. Now we're done.
Well, yeah, if that mysteriously gets edited out in the final podcast, I don't know what happened. Yeah, we'll find a way to, yeah, okay, well, let's move along. Thank you so much for your time, Mike.
My pleasure.
Boy, there goes everything I worked for the last 6 years.
I don't know why people invite me places.
All right. Well, he's available for kids' birthday parties, too, in case you're wondering.
I just have to be 500 feet away at all times.
501 if you're paying attention. All right. Well, thank you so much, Mike. We'll be seeing you at the cage. And for God's sakes, the views expressed by Mike do not represent me or my family or any of my business ventures.
They don't even represent me.
Exactly. Just blame it on the medication. That's the best way to get out of it.